Alright guys, today I wanted to make a video about who is the worst transfer in football history. So I've picked three transfers that I consider to be the worst, and that they are for different reasons. So I'll start off with number one. Now, when someone says worst transfer in football history, I think this is probably the one that comes to mind for most people, and it is Felipe Coutinho going to Barcelona from Liverpool in January 2018. Now, obviously, the fee was roughly about 140 million, including add-ons, and I think it was 106 million pound up front, and those add-ons were expected to happen. I think there was one for if he won the Champions League. Yeah, so there was one for the league title, there was one for 100 appearances, and there was another one for the Champions League. Now, Philippe Coutinho went on to win the Champions League whilst under contract at Barcelona, but Barcelona didn't win the Champions League. He actually won it on loan at Bayern Munich, scoring twice in the semi-final to knock Barcelona out. Now, that is probably one of the most shambolic scenarios I think there has ever been in football. He was on monstrous wages he's just signed for Villa, so, 4.5 years? I understand Bayern Munich probably paid for half of them for a season, and same with Villa for half a season, so there was a good 3-year period where Barcelona were paying Coutinho £400,000 a week, if reports are to be believed. Now, obviously, his performances weren't ridiculously bad for Barcelona, but they weren't what Barcelona thought they were signing. And part of that's down to the fact that he didn't fit in the system because they already had the best player in the world in their team in Lionel Messi. And also, they didn't sign a player they thought they were signing. Coutinho had excelled at Liverpool, being the number 10, or for a period he was playing well on the left wing, but he wasn't really playing as a left winger. He was cutting inside a lot. But the idea is Messi and him couldn't really play together because they got in each other's way. That's why some of Coutinho's best performances for Barcelona actually came at the end of his first season when Messi missed a few games. So yeah, just overall a terrible transfer, and also Barcelona lost a hell of a lot of money on it. They lost about 120 million in total. In fact, a year ago, or it might have been 2 years ago now, Barcelona even tried to offer Coutinho back to Liverpool for free, but on the basis that they didn't pay Liverpool the add-ons that they owed Liverpool through the bonus of Coutinho winning the Champions League and also making his 100th appearance for the club. So that is how bad it got. They were willing to offer Coutinho back to Liverpool for free. That's how bad that some of Barca's transfers, like Coutinho, Griezmann, Dembele, cost them in the end, and how it's made them deteriorate. On to number two. This is a bit of a different one. It's actually Jack Rodwell to Sunderland in about 2014, I think. Now, a few years prior, so maybe 2010, 2011, Jack Rodwell was like one of the big young prospects in the Premier League. He was doing very well for Everton. I think he might have got into the England squad a couple of times. He was definitely playing for the England youth teams. He was only in his early 20s at the time. And Man City signed him. It didn't work out at Man City, but they managed to offload him to Sunderland for pretty much the same price I think they paid for him 2 years after. At Sunderland, it just went on, and got worse. I think he went through a ridiculous run where he just pretty much lost every single game. It lasted about 30 or 40 games. And ultimately, his time at Sunderland ended in Sunderland being relegated in 2017, and then being relegated again to the third division in 2018. and he was playing terribly when he did play, but he wasn't playing that often. But he was on monstrous wages. He was on about £70,000 a week, and the club tried to sell him, and actually had offers to sell him. But and also, once he refused to leave, they tried to make him reduce his wages, which is fair enough because he hadn't been performing at all, and the club were in a bit of a dodgy financial situation because of the relegations. Now, obviously, there's nothing that says Rodwell has to take this pay cut, and he's within his rights to stay on those wages, but it just shows what a terrible transfer it was. And Sunderland they've been promoted back to the second tier after 4 years in League One. So it is transfers like that have cost them, and that is probably the number one worst one. And then the third pick, I've gone with Eden Hazard to Real Madrid. Now, Eden Hazard's still at Real Madrid, and I think he's had a few good games so far this season. So it's obviously not over for him yet. But it's just the idea that Real Madrid paid over 100 million for a player who was approaching his 30s at the time. And don't get me wrong, he'd had a very good season at Chelsea in his last year, one of his best seasons at the club. But in 3 years since, it's just been injury problem after injury problem. And when he first joined Real Madrid, he was completely unfit, out of shape. And it's just been a terrible time. He can't even get into their starting 11 at the moment, which is just ridiculous. In some ways, it's worse than Coutinho because he'll be on massive wages, the same as Coutinho. But at least Coutinho, although he was underwhelming, he wasn't shockingly bad for Barca, whereas Eden Hazard so far has just been horrendous and unreliable too, so there is a case for him as well. For me, the worst signing's just got to be Coutinho, purely, not even because of Coutinho's performances, but purely just because of the decision-making of Barcelona to loan him out to a European rival who then knock you out of the Champions League, with Coutinho scoring 2 goals, and then going on to win the competition, which in turn costs you money. Bayern Munich winning the competition, you have to give money to Liverpool because of that, and then also losing 80-85% of the money spent on the transfer. In terms of when they offloaded him, they only got about 15 or 20% of the original transfer fee back, which is ridiculous. So for me, that's got to be the worst one of all time. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.